Yo, for today's video, we use the basement against the killer. Normally, you'd think if you get hooked in basement, yeah, that's a GG for me. I'm probably dead. But with Sable's perk called Wicked, which allows you to unhook yourself only when you're first hook and in the basement, pair this up with a couple perks like Unbreakable, Decisive Strike, and Off the Record. Yo, for today's video, we use the basement against the killer. Normally, you'd think if you get hooked in basement, yeah, that's a GG for me. I'm probably dead. But with Sable's perk called Wicked, which allows you to unhook yourself only when you're first hook and in the basement, pair this up with a couple perks like Unbreakable, Decisive Strike, and Off the Record. Yo, for today's video, we use the basement against the killer. Normally, you'd think if you get hooked in basement, yeah, that's a GG for me. I'm probably dead. But with Sable's perk called Wicked, which allows you to unhook yourself only when you're first hook and in the basement, pair this up with a couple perks like Unbreakable, Decisive Strike, and Off the Record. Yo, for today's video, we use the basement against the killer. Normally, you'd think if you get hooked in basement, yeah, that's a GG for me. I'm probably dead. But with Sable's perk called Wicked, which allows you to unhook yourself only when you're first hook and in the basement, pair this up with a couple perks like Unbreakable, Decisive Strike, and Off the Record. Yo, for today's video, we use the basement against the killer. Normally, you think if you get hooked in basement, yeah, that's a GG for me. I'm probably dead. But with Sable's perk called Wicked, which allows you to unhook yourself only when you're first
Clash of Clans has been around for 11 years and it's always been known as a mobile game only, but for the first time ever, Clash of Clans is available on PC officially. What's going on, my friends? My name is Joe. Welcome back to the show. And bros, I'm looking at Clash of Clans on a 34-inch ultra wide screen. Totally blowing my mind. I can actually use my mouse to claim resources and even zoom in a little bit by the track wheel. This is, I mean, it's crazy. It's blowing my mind. Now, we all know that Clash of Clans has been playable on PC in the past if you were using the BlueStacks app. Unfortunately, back in the day, it was kind of taboo to play on BlueStacks because it was always considered against terms of service, although I'm not tracking that many people that were actually banned for using that app. But Clash was like, nope, we're gonna make our own version, put it on PC, and it's available on the new Google Play Games beta application. We'll make sure that that's linked down in the description below if you would like to download it for yourself, because it's actually really cool to see this game on such a gigantic screen. It makes all my tablets look like a joke, just straight out putting it out there. Now, looking at the PC requirements, they're relatively low. A lot of you guys should be able to run this game no problem with it requiring the Intel HD graphics, like straight off your processor, and then 8 gigabytes of RAM. That's kind of a joke, right? Especially in today's terms of high-end gaming PCs. Now, for those of you that are wondering, I was unable to download this application on my Mac, so I don't necessarily think that the Google Play app is going to be available on OS anytime soon. Then again, it's Google and Apple. They don't really mesh very well anyways. So if you're able to get the PC version on a Mac, let us know down in the comments below how you were able to do that. Now, looking at the game itself, the graphics do not look bad at all. There's really no lag that I'm seeing or anything like that. There was one place that kind of stood out to me that looked a little strange, which was in the layout editor. If you look at the 3 thumbnails of the bases, it's kind of an 8-bit. Then again, this is still relatively new, so that might be changed in the future. Jumping over to builder base, everything looks pretty good over here. There really isn't any delay between doing upgrades on the PC version then opening your same account on your mobile device after the fact. Of course, you can't have them open at the same time because then it will say that somebody else is logging into your account, but there was no issues there. Now, there are some pros and cons in regard to playing on a PC version of this game because we all know this has been mobile first, and there's going to be some transitional issues if you do attempt to play on PC. One of those cons was the single click, like using the mouse. It works out fine when I move around this, archer tower or I claim some resources, but in those very strategic attacks, let's say you're more into doing like La-Los or the Minor Hog Rider hybrid attack, it does get a little sketchy trying to drop your troops in different sequences on multiple places around the map. I did it earlier and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like freaking out. Also, when it comes to zooming in and out on the PC version, that can get a little challenging when it comes to placing those troops. But then again, you might have the same problems on a phone if you're not used to it, because because it's really the same mechanic. And then the third one was the troop deployment bar. Now, Town Hall 14s, Town Hall 15s, you have these gigantic armies with a ton of tiles that you got to navigate through. If you're not used to using the mouse, it might be delayed. So this is realistically where it comes to getting some practice in, placing the troops with a mouse or dropping those spells, because you might be slower on the PC version than what you are on your mobile device. Now, some of the pros, one of the biggest pro for playing on a PC for me is the precision dropping of spells. Now, think about those lightning spell placements. You got to drop 3 to take out an air defense. You're going to be able to click in the same spot 3 times without having to worry about fat fingering, which I've done like a million times. Dropped, a rage spell over in the grass or something, been there, done it. So that's a major pro to playing on the PC version. Another one, and this is going to be super minor to you, but let's say that I want to talk to my clanmates, I can use my keyboard and say, GG guys. You know what I mean? Like, that's phenomenal, because every time I've ever tried to type in my clan chat on my mobile device, it's always like a bunch of messed up words and gibberish. Like, I suck at it. I'm the worst. Another major pro to the PC version is if you're realistically a casual type player, this is actually perfect, because you can have it up on your PC if you spend a lot of time at work or something, and you can just do things like you claim your resources, you can do your upgrades, you can do some minor farming, to type in my clan chat on my mobile device. It's always like a bunch of messed up words and gibberish. Like, I suck at it. I'm a casual player on the PC version, but then again, the same thing works with your phone when you're on the toilet, right? And then the last major pro for playing on PC is more geared towards those of you that are interested in streaming Clash of Clans out to the world. It actually works out really nice to have Clash natively on your PC chat on your mobile device. It's always like a bunch of messed up words, and you don't have like a bunch of stuff in front of you, like a tablet blocking the way or a phone in your hand the whole time. You can just kind of kick back like this and just play Clash of Clans and just do whatever. So again, the PC version of this game can be found in the Google Play Games beta app that will be linked down in the description below.
On October 4th, 2012, the official Clash of Clans Facebook page congratulated a player named The True King for being the first player to reach 3,000 trophies. This was at a time when the community was beginning to grow rapidly, so he became well known for his achievement, and soon after, the race to 4,000 began. But it wouldn't be long before someone made it there, as in January 28th, 2013, Jorge Yao was congratulated for reaching 4,000 trophies, and in the process becoming a bit of a virtual celebrity in the Clash community. However, people were quick to question the legitimacy of this milestone, especially how he had maintained his #1 position for months, something that was previously unheard of. What exactly was Jorge Yao doing that everyone else wasn't? Today, we're going to be diving into the history of cheating in Clash of Clans. This includes the story of the leaderboards, including Jorge Yao's methods, the rise and fall of mods, and exploits that were used throughout Clash's history. Milestone, the very first form of cheating was simply never stop playing. If your village is currently online, you can't get attacked, and back in the day, there was no such thing as a personal break. Theoretically, you could stay online forever. It's unknown how many players in the leaderboards actually used this method at the time, but we do know that it was pretty dang popular. Jorge Yao was interviewed by the New York Times in December 2013 after he retired from Clash, and he explained that in order to keep your trophy count high, a player has to avoid getting attacked by other top contenders by either staying online or being attacked for a shield. Unknown how many players in the weekends he would never go offline. His device was with him the entire day, either to keep it awake or clouding looking for any base to attack. Obviously, Jorge wasn't the only one. If you're unfamiliar with the term win trading, specifically in gaming, it's basically where one player agrees to lose in a ranked match to boost another player. Jorge Yao, as well as other top players at the time, used a form of win trading where they would leave their clan before going offline. In doing so, the chances of one of their clanmates finding them in matchmaking was very high, especially at such high trophies. They would come to an agreement that if they found one another in matchmaking, they would only destroy the bare minimum of the base to obtain a 12-hour shield. Back then, this would have been at 40% destruction, with or without a star. Depending on the agreement they had, they would have either got 40% and failed the attack, giving free trophies to the defender, or got a 40% 1-star and surrendered right before the 2-star. That way, they take less trophies from their clanmates. Whatever method they chose chose to use would have gave them a 12-hour shield and helped both of them stay at the top of the leaderboards. But sometimes hoping a clan mate finds their base and matchmaking wasn't enough, and it didn't always work either. So to keep reaching new milestones, players like Jorge Yao discovered a new way of win trading: attacking yourself. Players in the leaderboard only got offline for one reason: to tend to their life. You can't be on the damn game 24/7. I mean, I guess you could, but the reality was people had lives. That's when Jorge realized that if he took over someone else's account during the time that they would have normally had a shield, he could use that account to win trade by himself. One thing led to another, and eventually he was managing multiple leaderboard accounts in order to help his main account reach new heights, playing as much as 5 iPads at once and even taking them to the shower covered in plastic bags. Many players would eventually use these same methods even years later after the shield changes. However, win trading would eventually change as a whole after the Legends League rework in 2019. But before we skip all the way to 2019, I wanted to move away from win trading for a bit and take a look at other forms of cheating in Clash of Clans in those early days. If you were playing between 2013 and 2016, you're most likely familiar with Clash of Clans mods that required you to jailbreak or root your device. The two big players in the scene were iMod and Xmod. I'm only going to be talking about these two because, for one, they're the most popular and well-known, and two, it seems they're no longer around, and I much rather talk about something that happened in the past rather than accidentally promote something that's still available. iMod and Xmod were basically tools that assisted you in Clash of Clans. You couldn't spawn 1,000 dragons on someone's base or get unlimited gems. It wasn't that kind of mod. But think of it as having extra settings that you definitely weren't supposed to have. For example, you could copy a base layout before that was an official feature, or as we mentioned earlier, a toggle to keep your base active. However, the capabilities of these mods were way beyond that, and over time they just kept getting better. Firstly, it was a major help for farming because you could set loot parameters. So let's say you set it to 200k gold or elixir. The mod would search and skip for you until it found a base with 200k gold, elixir, or both. It could do this for dark elixir, town halls, levels, pretty much everything. The second main reason these mods were used was because of their sandboxing feature, a feature that let you visit any base and practice attacking it, even having a toggle that allowed you to see the traps. This became a massive problem in both the leaderboard and clan wars because all of a sudden, players using this mod could practice their attacks before actually doing it. This led to many clan wars where everyone was getting perfect 3 stars, and over in the leaderboards, because you usually run into the same bases up there, top players were practicing on each other's bases so they can do good next time they find them. It basically eliminated the need to strategize your attacks. These mods were highly controversial because a lot of players using these mods argue that it wasn't cheating and that it simply helped them enjoy the game in between their busy lives. But at the end of the day, I mean, mods are mods, and anything that gave anyone an advantage is cheating. In April 2016, Supercell finally did something about it and committed to keeping Clash of Clans a level playing field for everyone. They started to issue 2-week bans to anyone who was caught utilizing any third-party app. But after multiple ban waves throughout 2016, it seems many players still weren't getting the message. And so they started to issue permanent bans to everyone in the fall of 2016. There were attempts from Xmod and iMod to dodge these detection methods Supercell had put in place. However, the more discreet these mods became, the more effort Supercell put into putting an end to it. There was a bit of a resurgence in 2017, specifically in clan war leagues, but by then Supercell was not messing around. After a few ban waves, thousands of accounts were banned, and this kind of scared people away from doing so. Eventually, players realized that there was no way of guaranteeing that you wouldn't be banned. In the end, these mods began to slowly disappear. Today, it seems they're non-existent, and if you find an alternative, there's a very good chance you'll be banned sooner or later. So yeah, I don't recommend it. As mentioned a minute ago, mods were used to practice war attacks, and this made clan wars feel less about strategy and more about who had mods installed. But there was also a way of doing this without the mods: ghosting, a way of attacking a base and tricking the game into thinking that you actually weren't attacking it, so it wouldn't count the attack. The exact method was simple and easy to do. You would hit attack on any base, and during the 30-second window the game gave you to spectate, you would set your device to airplane mode. And then you could do anything you wanted: check the location of traps, see what's in the clan castle, practice your attack. None of it counted because the game just assumed you weren't there. To anyone who was viewing the war screen, it would sort of just look like an attack was going on, but then suddenly stopped after 3 minutes. All of this was possible because between April 2014 and April 2015, you could back out of any attack as long as you didn't drop a troop, much like you can do in regular multiplayer. On April 30th, 2015, you could no longer do this. Backing out would now count as a surrender, so there were a lot of screenshots floating around of people getting 0%. Kind of funny, not gonna lie. This wasn't the end of cheating in wars, as mods were still around in 2015, but it was at least a step in the right direction. However, the topic of ghosting would appear again all the way in 2019. Apparently, leaderboard players had figured out another method of doing so. But but it was never revealed how exactly, and I couldn't find any information about it either. It was quickly patched and multiple accounts were banned, and that's all we know. If you had a lot of trophies in the year 2014, you might have come across an exploit that was plaguing the leaderboards. A lot of players were reporting that they would get a client and server out of sync error after only dropping one troop on certain bases. This would cause an automatic 0%, 0 stars, and players affected lost their hard-earned trophies in the process. One of those players who encountered this error was me. I happened to be pushing at the time as well, and for the two people who are curious, I believe I peaked at number 6 in the US, but I only have this picture. Anyways, sorry, getting a bit off topic. I vividly remember losing tons of trophies because of this error message. At the time, it was believed it was either a server bug or that those players were using Xmod. However, it turns out it was neither of those. Instead, it seems some players figured out a way to bug their base, and so when someone attacked them, the game would realize that something was wrong with their base. A Reddit post from mid-2014 has some proof of this. Here's a base that someone found that was missing a wizard tower, and as soon as they dropped troops, the error message appeared. But upon visiting their base later that day, the wizard tower was back in its place. No one knows how they were managing to unplace defenses and bug their base, and unfortunately we never got the answer to that. The bug was eventually fixed and it was all forgotten about. The players who had abused this exploit and gained tons of trophies from defenses just moved along like nothing ever happened. Meanwhile, tons of players who were affected by this exploit ended up quitting their journey to be the next #1 player. Earlier, we discussed the topic of old school win trading, but ever since the Legends League rework, this method of cheating has evolved, because in Legends League, you cannot lose trophies from attacking, so how would you give trophies to someone else? Well, the main method of win trading was to make an agreement with your friends to never get more than 1 star when they run into each other. That way, those involved lost minimal trophies from defense, but won a lot on offense. This basically allowed those players to gain trophies faster than anybody else doing it legitimately. In 2019, a couple by the name Stephanie and Dr. Mushtaba broke 2 trophy records within the span of 4 months by using this method of win trading. But not only that, they had figured out how to do ghost attacks and a couple of other things. Man, they really wanted that #1 spot bad. As mentioned earlier, we don't know how exactly they did the whole ghosting thing, but we do know that the couple was paying their way to the leaderboards. Literally. Apparently, they would pay random ass players in the leaderboards $1,500 to change their name to something stupid like Stephanie Hart Mushtaba, or some silly variation of the same name. In doing so, this confused Supercell in determining who to ban for all this win trading that was going on. But it also allowed their name to be plastered all throughout the leaderboards. Eventually, Supercell started to hand out bans for win trading and the ghosting exploit. However, they still had dozens of accounts in the leaderboards throughout 2020 and I believe 2021 because they could simply make new accounts, buy some, or pay someone to change their name. Fast forward to today, their names are a thing of the past, but it's believed that win trading is still a widespread issue in the leaderboards, clan wars, and even the clan capital. Who the hell would want to do that? The developers have gotten better in determining who is doing it, but it's hard to know for sure sometimes. And it's just something that happens in games. The fact is, wherever there is competition, there will always be cheating. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I had tons of fun researching and writing this one. I even learned a couple things myself here and there. I'm sure there have probably been a few more niche ways of cheating in Clash, but these are basically all of the biggest and most prevalent forms of cheating that the game has seen. Anyways, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a gaming outs. Peace!
Think if you get hooked in basement, yeah, that's a GG for me.
This is Supercell's new game Squad Busters, and today I'm going to be sharing 15 starter tips that you should know to become a better player. The first tip is understanding how the costs of chests work. You may already know that you need to collect the required gold to open the chest, and once you do that, that the next chest is usually more expensive. Well, this is because the cost of the chest is tied to the number of characters you currently have. So every time you spawn another character, the cost of the chest goes up by 5 gold, and once it reaches a cost of 30, it goes up by 10 until you hit a maximum of 50 gold. But don't worry, you probably won't be paying 50 gold that often anyways, because remember, the cost is tied to the number of characters you have. So that means fusions will decrease the cost of the chest, and as you may know, you automatically get a fusion when you collect 3 of the same character. This is super helpful during the battle, especially at the beginning, because if you want to keep expanding your squad, you have to make sure to fusion them, or else you'll be running into
Ah!